talking to the light. I want to thank the students. I want to thank the panelists. I want to thank all of you. It's clear that UT has something special in the energy space. It was really exciting for my wife Linda and I to come here, be part of the program from Houston, and hear Scott Tinker and the other speakers and panelists. And it's really clear that there's a lot of things happening in energy right here on this campus. So what I've done in the last several years in my roles for APG, I was the recent past president for APG, and the American Association of Petroleum Geologists. We have about 30,000 members around the world. And what we focus on, Bill, as you mentioned in your excellent setup, is 85% of the production of energy is hydrocarbons. And it's been that way for a long time. And we're making progress because we're rebalancing the portfolio. More natural gas, less coal, and more natural gas going into the future. And this is a good thing because it has a big impact on our environment. But what we focus on as geoscientists are where are we going to, while all these exciting opportunities that people have been talking about at this conference are being developed, where do we get that major base level to keep things going in the hydrocarbon space? It's not an easy job. So we've talked about, Bill mentioned North America. There are some estimates that this is a global phenomenon and that the potential to expand into South America, into Africa, China, Asia, there's a lot of indigenous resources. So the APG is focused on something we call super basins, the world's biggest basins in the world. And this is what one of them looks like. This is I'm a simple-minded thinker. I need a map and a cross-section because geoscientists are visual. We like to think in 3 dimensions. So, map on the left, you can see it's one very nice basin in West Texas and New Mexico with a central basin uplift. And the profile in the upper right shows what the rock layers look like. And what makes the Permian Basin spectacular is that it has rich series of organic source rocks that happen to be largely at the base of the stratigraphic section, covered by all kinds of layers that can produce on top of it, and the top has a regional seal. And this whole basin shape, this bowl, if you will, is largely undisturbed. There's an uplift in the middle, but it's not all broken up, so the hydrocarbons that are trying to escape from the source rock to the surface, they're in place. A lot of them are in place. So that's what makes this a prototype super basin. And the game right now for unconventional plays, as Bill mentioned, is a lot of engineering skills. So if we look to the left of the diagram, there were vertical wells drilled, then there were vertical wells deepened, different technologies, engineering technologies, horizontal, continued optimizations of the different types of horizontals, longer horizontals, more stages of fracturing, different proppants, different fluids, more just continued optimization. And then stacking of horizontals. So not only are we going in the Permian Basin horizontally in one layer, we're now going in several layers, and in cases we're stacking. And then enhanced oil recovery is something that hasn't even really been factored into a lot of the horizontal drilling. So this is the prototype. And the question is, where can we go around the world? So there are 2 places that I wanted to point out. Argentina, in the Neuquén Basin, is on the verge. They're at commerciality. They have taken this energy renaissance out of North America. So North America has had a field day of the last 10 or more years. And here's a cross-section, a map on the left, and a cross-section on the right of the Argentina Neuquén Basin. Now, one basin that I really was excited about when we had the panel yesterday afternoon and we talked about Russia and China and global resources, there's a basin in Western Siberia that is huge. And if you look to the lower right, I'll see if I can wiggle this, here we go. Did you see that little thing fly in there? I'll try to do it again. That's the Permian Basin to scale. How about that? It's kind of, kind of makes you think. The Basin shale in western Siberia has huge unconventional potential. So the question is, for us, why and who will pick up the mantle from the energy renaissance that has been established for the factors that Bill mentioned in North America? Who's going to pick it up? Argentina's doing it. There are a lot of places around the world. What are the issues? What are the timing? There are reserves. This is good news for the world. And I want to point out the Gulf of Mexico, because that surrounds the area in which Linda and I live. And this is what we call a hybrid basin. So it's not just unconventional resources, it's unconventional shales like the Haynesville and like the Eagleford onshore, but it's got a lot of new rejuvenation in the offshore below the salts of the Gulf of Mexico. Hidden resources that are now able to be seen using enhanced seismic technology. So the game is, how do we get these resources out? That's what we spend a lot of time talking about in the geology world, is there's the unconventional track, which tends to have very high dollar, very high capitalization, big layers of rock, like in the Permian Basin, almost a manufacturing mode, that requires engineering breakthroughs. The imaging requires geophysical breakthroughs. So for those of you who may be considering a future in energy, and if you want to be involved in the geoscience part of it, key partners in the enabling of the recovery of these resources are engineering and geophysics. And in the lower right, there's another exciting basin, the Campos and Santos Basin in Brazil, which has a whole hidden resource potential. So I want to end the intro slides with this graph, and I had a lot of fun with this. When I gave my presidential address at APG last year, I showed this graph. This is the production in the Permian Basin, which was thought to be mature, and we just had the numbers from IHS from 1958 to recent. And if you look at some of the major events in the Permian Basin, back in the 1970s, the graph x-axis is the date. So in the 1970s, we had the highest level of historical production in the Permian Basin, a little over 2 million barrels a day. And those days were known as the good old days, the golden age. So I like to have fun with this because not everybody knows what this group may know. But what's your prediction for continued production? And you know, people like to use rulers and things, right? So you would probably say that line right around as unconventional technology is just beginning in the early 2000s with George Mitchell and the Barnett Shale. You might say, well, it's going to trend flat, and if you're an optimist, you may say it's going to trend a little up. And if you look at the history of the basin, you're probably going to say it's going to trend down because it just keeps going down. Boom! Our world changed. And this cannot be underestimated. Our world has changed. We have accesses. Our total mental picture now is we have accesses in some of these basins to resources that are at new peaks. This is the new latest peak for Permian Basin production, up in the range approaching 5 million barrels a day. It's better than before. So if that was a golden age, this is the new golden age, kind of like, you know, the song by Carly Simon. These are the good old days. We're in it. And you never really know you're in a golden age. You only know you're in a golden age when you look back and you say, hey, wow, those days were really great. I kind of wish we could go back to them. Well, folks, we're in a golden age now, and it's really exciting because, as has been mentioned in this program, energy is prosperity. And it gives us choices, it gives us options, it gives us the ability to develop other resources and other types of resources. So this is a super exciting time as far as I'm concerned. And it's all benefited from technology. And we were having a conversation recently, and it's interesting because I like to talk to a lot of the old wildcatters who have made major discoveries, like George Mitchell and others. And their story is when they were getting into the business, around the time of the early golden age of our industry, there was a book called This Fascinating Oil Business. And the thing was that it was all of the things that energy did for society, all the ways that we could learn on how to produce the energy and make the world a better place. And so I like to say it's back to the future, because we are now, the only thing I change about this book is I wouldn't call it This Fascinating Oil Business, I call it This Fascinating Energy Business, because we are perfecting the energy. So I want to encourage the students who are here. I really appreciate the students being a big part of this. What I always say to students as I have an opportunity to visit is, this is your future. Be a part of the energy solution. You're already a part of the solution by being here. Be a lifelong learner. And if you have the inclination to get involved either as a geoscientist, a geophysicist, an engineer, in one of the service companies, as a lawyer, helping us with regulations, helping us in an environmental way to be better, please get involved with professional societies, because they will give you a network and help you become much stronger in your own profession. So Bill, I'm going to pass it back to you.
All right, thank you, Charles. And you can tell we've heard from two passionate people, and I just want to remind us that it's great to hear from geologists, and geologists are great, entertaining people, but only to one another. So, Calvin, let's hear from the other side of some of these issues that we've been talking about.